What is up, guys? My name is MipZ and welcome back for yet another League of Legends video. So today we're playing one of my absolute favorite ADCs. He's a very popular ADC, but he's also an ADC that has kind of a different feel to him than, in my opinion, all other ADCs. Yeah, I know it sounds kind of weird, but today we are playing the gunslinger, the one and only Jhin. And Jhin is an amazing ADC to play. Personally, I really do enjoy him because of the different feel that he has to him and the way that he's, especially his auto attacks and his kit kind of works together. So what we're going to do in this video is, first of all, as you guys can see, we are starting out in the practice tool, and this will basically allow us to first of all explain all of his abilities, and we'll go down to the very detail of them, so you know exactly how they work together and what they do. This is super important in order to actually master this champion. And then we will talk about the combos and the advanced combos. So there should be something in this video for you, regardless of whether or not you're a brand new Jhin player or if you're an experienced Jhin player. For those of you who already know everything that Jhin has to offer in terms of his combos, mechanics, advanced combos, cancel animations, etc., then I've left a link down in the description to the gameplay video, which actually goes in depth. I've made a video that goes in depth with the macro game of basically the decision making when you're playing Jhin, how you play him in the early, mid, and late game. So basically, if you already have a full handle on the mechanical side of playing the champion, then you should go ahead and follow that link. For the rest of you guys, I would strongly recommend that you watch this video through before going to that video. I will also link this video and prompt it at the end of this video so you don't forget. One thing to note is I will not be going into the runes and items because these things just change super rapidly. So instead, I've left a link for mobile analytics down below that shows the current best runes and items for the champion. So yeah, if you need that, go down there, check it out. But with that said, we kind of just have one thing to get out of the way. If you guys are new in here and haven't already subscribed, then make sure to go ahead and click that button down below. Join our awesome family. It's been insane seeing the amount of growth. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that like button. And if you want to see me live, make sure to go to twitch.tv/MipZ_live. I stream in there every single Friday. Anywho, let's get into this one. So the very first ability that we're going to talk about is the passive, and the passive is what is called Whisper. And yeah, I know most of you guys hate the passive because you're like, who the heck cares? But the passive, as I always say, is the most important ability on any champion because this tells you how the champion likes to be played. And for Jhin, this is no exception. So Jin's passive is what's called Whisper. It's his gun. If I ever get a gun, I'm also going to give my gun a name. That's for sure. It's pretty freaking cool. He has a name for it. But Whisper, his gun, basically what this passive says is, first of all, it says that he has a gun that has 4 rounds in it. These 4 rounds are illustrated up here. So every time you shoot, you can see it uses one of the bullets in its chamber, and once all the shots are used, then he reloads the gun. Super simple. The reload takes 2.5 seconds. For those of you who are a bit more advanced and kind of need to know this, for the rest of you guys, just know he reloads whenever he's out of ammo or if he's out of combat for 10 seconds. An easy way to see this, and he reloads it regardless of how many shots he has left after 10 seconds out of combat. But with the final shot, you can see it down here because it kind of counts your final shot, and you can see it here being illustrated. A cool thing that you need to know as a Jhin player is that you can actually ensure that Jhin does not reload his gun. And you can do this indefinitely. And the reason for this is because your final shot is really empowered. We'll talk about this in kind of a second. What that shot specifically does. You can see here, if we look down here, we can see right now we have this final. And you can see once this reaches the end, he will reload. But if we click an ability, then this timer actually starts over. And this means that we can indefinitely stay on this, what do you call it, on this round. So if we want to stick on our final shot, we can do that indefinitely. Also, if one of your traps are triggered, this can also, if you're out of combat, reset it, which is honestly kind of awesome. So you can see right there, as it explodes, if it deals damage to a target, you get back into combat, and then it also resets. But otherwise, you can just use any of your abilities to stay on this round indefinitely, which can be super useful. But we'll talk more about why that is just now. So as you guys might have guessed, then Jin's shots, of course, deal some damage. The first 3 ones deal the same amount of damage based on basically your stats. But your final shot has kind of a cool twist to it, because what this final shot does, the purple round you can see here, is that it always 100% critical strikes. It will always critical strike, which is super cool. And you might think, well, that's pretty cool, but MipZ, is it really that good? And yes, it is, because it also deals bonus damage based on the target's missing health. So depending on how low HP the target is, it deals more damage. So generally speaking, a good rule of thumb is that you want to try and prioritize this shot on the lowest HP target, because that's of course the one it'll deal the most damage on. Just to clarify, then the percentage of damage extra it deals based on target's missing health is 15 to 25% of the target's missing health that it deals extra as damage. So this shot deals some freaking serious damage, and it can be used also to secure objectives like Baron, Drake, etc. Especially if you're pre-made with your jungler, you can kind of time this with him and basically make it almost impossible for the enemy to steal it. But we'll talk more about that later. So yeah, that's kind of what the final shot does. It's kind of awesome, and yeah, it's not that much more to it. Deals extra damage based on missing health of your enemy, and it also always critical strikes. It should just kind of be noted, this is just something you need to know, but don't really need to remember, I guess, is that if you do this final shot on a tower, it does still deal extra damage, but it is lowered significantly, so you're not going to be doing as much damage. But yeah, we won't go into the specific stats of it, because it won't really matter that much. Just need to know that you don't do it exactly the same. All right, so that's kind of the first portion of the passive. I know this is a long one, but I promise you guys the rest is going to be a lot easier. So Jhin, basically the way that Jhin works, and for those of you who have tried him a little bit, then buying attack speed on Jhin doesn't make him attack faster. And you might have noticed this and been like, why is that? Well, the reason for this is that Jin's passive basically just says that Jhin gains 4 to 44% bonus attack damage based on his critical strike and based on his attack speed. So that's kind of how that thing works. So every time you get attack speed and stuff, it actually just kind of converts itself into extra damage. So that's why you don't attack faster in Jhin, you just get more damage, which is super cool. But yeah, it's kind of different than the other ADCs, and this is kind of what I talked about in the beginning. He has a different feel to him. Additionally, you need to know that every time Jhin critical strikes, he gains extra bonus movement speed. He actually gains 10% movement speed for 2 seconds, illustrated with this blue, what do you call it, blur thing behind him. So it's super nice, and that's really good for catching up to a target or for kiting away, which is honestly really, really good. That is all for a passive, I promise you. So now let's get into all of the fun abilities and the ones that really matter. So first of all, we have our Q, and our Q is what is called Dancing Grenade. And Dancing Grenade is a really, really fun ability to use. Whenever you throw it on a target, it basically just bounces to the next target, and it can do this for up to 4 targets. It deals a good chunk of damage, which is really nice, but what is really cool about it is that if it kills a target, or if a target that it has hit within a short time, then it'll deal 35% more damage to the next targets. And this can be increased for every single target that is killed on the way. So this is kind of a cool one. So imagine that you kill this one, with it, like if you Q this one and this one dies, then 34% more damage to this one, then maybe this dies as well, and then it's like 35% more, and it deals more and more damage. This is super cool, and the thing you need to know about this, and this is something a lot of people actually don't know, which I think is kind of weird, and I like, is that you don't have to kill the target with the grenade for the damage to be increased. The target just needs to be killed within a short time after. So basically before it hits the next target. So if you do a Q on a target and then instantly attack this, you will actually see that it increases the damage on the next following targets, which is kind of cool. So if we do a Q on this one, okay, I don't do enough damage here. I see that. Let's find a target that we can, if we lower this HP of this one, let's see that nothing else dies. Okay, so we do Q on this one and then we auto attack it instantly. You'll see the damage was increased by 35% on the next target. And if it then kills more, then it's super cool. And this also means that you can use your W to kill even more targets as one if you're really good at kind of combining this. But the reason why I'm specifically telling you this is because when we get into laning phase, I'll try and explain this as well in there. But is that you can use this for poking. So imagine that this is the enemy's lane and you want to hit a champion up here. Then maybe you Q the minion and you kill the minion with an auto attack. And once this grenade hits the champion behind, it will have its damage increase because you killed this minion, even though it wasn't killed with a grenade. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. I know that became kind of a long explanation, but it's really important to know. It can really help you out quite a lot, and it will really surprise your enemies because most people don't know this. All right. In terms of the bounce, it's basically you don't have to be up here in order to make it bounce, as you guys can see down the line here. It just kind of does it from a radius perspective. You can see right here, this is the range. If we hold over it, you can see if I hit this minion, it then bounces to any minion within the same circle of range. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very easy to learn, and it's just a really fun ability. All right, so that is our dancing grenade. Then we have our W, which is called Deadly Flourish. Deadly Flourish is one of the key abilities for Jhin. This one is basically this long range shot that he can do. It can literally, it has a really long range. You can see here on the map, it can go all the way out here, which is honestly quite insane. It deals a decent amount of damage, not super high. But what it does is that if the target is what we call the marked on Jhin, then it routes the target from 1 second and up to 2 seconds, depending on the rank or the level of the ability. So if you have a mark on this one, the mark is what you say, visualized by this thing. If you hit that with a W, then you can see it gets rooted, which is honestly really, really, really good. So generally speaking, this is what you want to be looking for. And you might be looking at me and be like, well, how do we actually get one of these marks onto a target? That is very, very simple. If either you hit some kind of damage on a target, then they get a mark. If any of your allies hits or damages a target, they get a mark. And it's visualized like this, super easy. Or if you have your E, your trap down, and it hits a target, it doesn't have to explode and deal the damage, but if they just walk over it, they will basically get this mark on them. Super simple. So you have a lot of ways of getting mark. You can also get it by hitting with your Q. Then you can see we can be like, it's super easy. So, but just look for the mark. It basically kind of looks like this, depending on your skin, of course. All right. So that is all for that one. Just one note that I want to say is that the mark is on a target for 4 seconds, which can be really good to know if you need to kind of figure out how long you can wait with casting your W if you're going into like a chain CC with a teammate and trying to hold them in place for as long as possible. All right, so our next ability is our E. This is our trap. It's called Captive Audience. Captive Audience is kind of cool. First of all, it has this side where if Jhin kills an enemy, then it actually puts down one of these lotus traps, like one of these, on the corpse of the enemy champion. But when this happens, it will explode pretty much instantly. It will just detonate. So it'll do this slow effect. It'll do the same thing as If it triggers, he'll do this and explode. This is really cool if they're standing on top of their teammates. If they're stacked or something else, it's a really good chunk of extra damage. Or it can slow people from running away, etc. It's just really good. So that's the passive side. If an enemy champion dies, then this thing appears and deals damage if they're close to it or slowed. But of course, you can also use the active side of it. And the active side is that we can put traps down ourselves. As you guys can see, then a trap, first of all, gives a mark. It then slows anything's movement speed within this one that when it's triggered. And then if they're inside it, as it actually detonates, it also deals a good chunk of damage. I gotta say that it is fairly, like, I'm not saying that it's rare that you're gonna deal damage with this one, but mostly that's not what you're going to use it for. You're mostly going to be using this trap to get a mark on a target, to slow them down, or to secure different roads or stuff that makes it harder to get to you. This is mostly what you're going to use it for. You're rarely going to use it purely for its damage. So yeah, that's basically all that this one does. There's not that much more to it. Jhin can have 2 of these traps ready at a time. As you guys can see, there's 2 down here, and every time you pop one, then they, of course, go on cooldown. It's quite simple, but he can have 2 traps ready, kind of like Caitlyn can have several traps as well. All right, our next ability is our old and probably one of the more fun ability. Let me just go down here. We just want to pick something up here, and this is Curtain Calls. And Curtain Calls is it's such a fun ability. It's such a unique ability. So the way this thing basically works is that whenever he uses his ult, then he goes into this long range, like he gets this big cone that he can use long range, and whenever he fires off a shot, it deals a good chunk of damage, and it also slows the target by 80% for 0.5 seconds, meaning that they're gonna walk really, really slow. But yeah, each of these shots deal a heavy chunk of damage, and it's increased by 3% for every 1% of health that the target is missing. So again, this means that the lower HP the targets are, the more damage it deals, making this ideal for actually finishing off low HP targets, or at least that they're beneath like 50 to 40%. Is going to be really, really useful. It should be noted that the 4th shot always crits, just like the last shot in his chamber, and this deals a significantly higher. It deals 100 to 400 physical damage extra, plus 0.5 per attack damage. You can deal some very, very serious damage with this one, so really stay aware of that. But the way you use it is you click your ult. Then he goes into his Curtain Calls, where you can be in for 10 seconds, and you have this big wide area you can look at. Every time you click the ult again, then he starts firing a shot. So you can see we can basically sit here and we can do these snipes, and you can see just how much damage we deal. And the lower HP it is, the more damage we deal. All right, so here comes one of the cooler things, and that is basically then when you use your Curtain Calls, then you can actually use a far side ward, the blue one, in order to gain vision far away. If you pop like a yellow ward next to you, or flash or did something else, you are going to break your ult. But with the blue ward, you do not break your ult. So this can be very useful if you're trying to snipe somebody underneath the turret. But yeah, that's all for all of their abilities. I hope this kind of makes sense. Let's now talk about the combos. So the very first thing is delaying the reload by using ability. We talked about this as we went through the abilities. Just want to show off really, really quickly, so we're sure that you know it. We can see the final shot here. We can delay it by infinite and hold on to this shot if that's what we wish for. We just need to use an ability within the 10 seconds time frame in order to reset the reload for another 10 seconds. And this is very cool. You can do it with any ability. Okay, so that's the first part that you really need to know. Then we have the Q, as we also talked about, that is empowered damage, not depending on the targets that it kills, but the targets that are killed within a short time frame after casting your Q. So this is just, again, I'm not going to go into detail with this one because we just showed it a moment ago. But basically, okay, I'm not going to try and do it again. There are no minions that are close enough to do it right now. Okay, maybe we can do it real quick here. We do a Q and we just auto attack, and you see it got its damage increased by 35% by the time it hit here, even though our grenade did not kill anything on the way, but we just killed that target with an auto attack. So that's that one. Then we have our next thing, which is prioritizing our auto attacks. And with this, I basically mean that you need to prioritize your fourth auto attack, the one that deals damage based on the target's missing health. Always prioritize this on the targets with the lowest HP if they're within range, and of course if it makes sense. There are certain cases where that's not ideal, and the higher elo players might be better at evaluating that in certain situations, but it's a good rule of thumb. Use your last shot on the target with the lowest HP, because that way you deal the most damage. All right, so you can also do this with combining with your Q to increase it on other targets. As we talked about, basically make sure that you kill some stuff with your bounces in order to deal more damage. Let's now kind of talk about the auto attack flash, because there is kind of an awkward thing with your auto attack flash. So if you go up here and you basically, with your final shot, it's the easiest one to show it off with. But if we flash and then auto attack, it's gonna go off a little. Sometimes it can be a little delayed in the way it works. And how you fix this is actually by clicking the target before going there, and then once you flash, it'll go off instantly. And I know for most people this might look similar, but it isn't. It actually is slightly faster. Like, it cancels a part of the animation by already having attacked the target. When you flash, it goes off instantly. I'll see if I can show off the slower one, which is basically if we flash here and then use the Q. Yeah, I know this was kind of a bad showcase of it, but trust me, it does make it better. So when you flash for an attack on a target, then make sure you have attacked the target before the flash, because that way it goes off instant. The same counts for using it in combination with your Q. Then you also want to click the Q before. So you want to go attack and then you Q flash. And you can see just how quickly this goes off. It's a lot more chunky if you click the things as you're within range. All right, so that is kind of an important thing to know. As we also mentioned shortly, try and use your fourth auto attack to secure objectives. Especially if you're pre-made with your jungler, this can be really easy. Like if you're going for Baron, make sure that you communicate with your jungler, that you have your fourth shot, and use that to burst down into smite range, because it's going to be like make it almost impossible for the enemy to predict and steal the objectives. So that's a really cool thing. Yeah, let's see if there's anything else we're missing. Yeah, one thing you can do is, let's imagine somebody's attacked this guy at pretty far range and you can use your W on it. Then you can chain it into your ult. And the reason why this is good is because if you hit the target here with your W, they're going to be snared. And if you instantly ult, then you're going to be able to hit the first shot, applying the 80% slow for 0.5 seconds, and then firing off the next couple of shots, making it really easy for you to hit all of your shots. So that can be a really good trick if you need to hit with your ult and you're pretty far away. Then using your W prior to that and then fire it into an ult like this instantly is really, really useful. All right, so that is most of it. One slight note is that I also kind of mentioned this, but make sure that you use your E, not just to deal damage, but use it basically to cut off routes to you and kind of use it as your own safety thing. And also, if you're going for an engage, let's say that you're chasing somebody down or you have CC on a target or something, don't hesitate to throw your E on top of them. Yes, they might walk out of it, but remember, you're not throwing this thing for the damage. You're throwing it mostly for the slow effect. So use that and make sure you can also cut off routes behind them. If you have a stun on them and you know they don't have flash and they have to walk this way back, you can pop your E behind them. Like, there's a lot of ways to use this. Anyway, that is kind of it in terms of what we needed to talk about, the abilities, the combos, and kind of how to combine everything mechanically. I hope you guys kind of learned a thing or two about everything. If you did, and if you enjoyed this one, then make sure to smash that like button. Go ahead and subscribe down below if you haven't already. If you want to see me live, go to twitch.tv/MipZ_live. And yeah, I would strongly recommend you guys to now go watch the macro game. I've left a link in the description or in the end card of this video that links you directly to the Jhin video that explains how to play this champion in the early, mid, and late game, and kind of how to think him when playing him in an actual game. So yeah, the overall macro play. I hope you guys are going to enjoy that one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this one. But that's kind of all I have for this. As always, stay awesome, have fun, and take it easy, guys.